Billionaire Banshee is a party card game by Game Yay Fun, Breaking Games, Megacat Studios. It was designed by a guy named Razlo. Infinite NES Lives tweeted that they were happy to help, so I guess they physically produced the game? Okay, seriously, so many companies and people attach their names to homebrew games. Can we just make it crystal clear who actually developed a game and who is publishing or distributing it or assembling it or what? In the past, I've incorrectly ascribed development credit for a game to the publisher, or I wouldn't be surprised if you thought that Jeffrey Wittenhagen's Black Box Challenge might have been made by Jeffrey Wittenhagen. I know you can dig through Twitter and Google and figure out who's who, and I appreciate the effort that goes into producing and distributing a game, but the main person involved that I personally want to follow is the actual developer. Oh, and by the way, Billionaire Banshee's NES port, it was done by Paul S. Courtney, which I only know because he's on the last page of the manual. Is he even part of any of the aforementioned organizations? I don't know. Anyway, the point of this game is that it's going to present you with a potential date, and they're going to have one good quality, like a superpower or wealth or sexual prowess, and one bad or unusual quality, maybe some physical deformity or something annoying or gross. Players go around in turn, and they just guess whether a certain other player would or wouldn't date this person. If you end up guessing correctly, you get a point. The first player to a certain number of points wins the game. It's not really a competitive game though. While there is some fun in testing how well you know the other player, the majority of the fun is really in the explanations of what's a deal breaker compared to what's worth living with, and why. It sounds simple for an NES game, and that's because it is. The first time I played it, I reset the game thinking there might be some other mode or something, but nope, that's the entire game. It's whether or not you would date this random combination of a perk and a quirk. There are over 170 of these cards in the game, which means something like 6,000 combinations. It's supposed to be a sort of greatest hits of cards from the card game and a couple of the expansions. One of the great things about similar games, like Cards Against Humanity, is that you can always buy more expansions to keep the game fresh. You can choose what cards you want to play with, and generally it's a whole lot more flexible than a ROM burned onto a chip. But really, how often are you going to sit around in NES to play a party card game? If you answered more than once, you're a liar! This game is a novelty, and technically yes, while it has some finite, limited replay value in NES form, I think the included cards are more than enough for the handful of times you're realistically going to play a game like this. The game supports 2 to 8 players. Oh god, multiplayer homebrew, I never get anyone to play this with me. Okay, so I've only played this 2-player with my fiancé, so I don't really have an opinion on how fun of a party game this is. I realize that makes this a terrible review of this game, but I wanted to show off the game from an NES homebrew perspective. While playing, we each nearly got 100% accuracy on each other's tastes. She knows I'm easily grossed out, I know that she would think biological deformities are actually interesting perks and things like that. I would say this is probably not the best game to play with 2 players who have lived with each other for 10 years, but it was still kind of fun proving how well we knew each other. I can see it being most fun with a group of close friends, which leaves more room for surprises and wrong answers. The presentation is excellent. Yes, it's an extremely simple game, but each card has art to go with it. The perk and quirk smoothly scrolls in, and then you can press up and down on the controller to get a reminder of all the caveats that go with the traits. These clarifications clear up the semantics surrounding each trait, so if your would-be lover vomits cheeseburgers on command, you'll know that they don't mind doing it and it's safe to eat. You just have to decide the core issue of whether you want something or not. Also, the game has a bunch of clear voice samples, which is always cool to see on the NES.
Let's play Billionaire Banshee!
For what the game is, I think this is about as attractive as it could be. Billionaire Banshee is in a genre that doesn't exist on the NES, which, like I often say, is something I appreciate. The closest thing to this game is maybe something like Anticipation or Pictionary, but even that's a pretty far stretch. A card game like this lives and dies by the cards, and most of them are pretty humorous, like your match is constantly slimy and nothing helps them, or they have translucent skin. Some of the cards are realistic, some are sexual, and some are pure fantasy like wizard powers and such, and each category can be toggled on or off if you want it. I don't know, personally for me seeing the NES talk about sex is just great. It's had its fair share of porn games, sure, but I still find this kind of thing to be a novelty. And that's really what Billionaire Banshee is. It's a novelty. Is NES the ideal way to play this game? No. Is NES even a convenient way to play this game? No. Especially if you don't have a wireless controller to pass around the entire room. Arguably, you don't even need a card game to play this. It's just a juiced up version of Would You Rather or Fuck, Marry, Kill. Look, the game kind of does everything I like. Slick presentation, it's a rare genre, it's a unique idea, but on the other hand, it really only barely justifies its existence as a game cartridge. Again, I just wanted to show off the NES game a bit. If you're the kind of board game group that's going to spend twice as much money for a less convenient version of a game and move over from the dining room table to the couch, I think you already know who you are and you don't really need a review to decide whether or not you want this. The game costs $40 card only or $50 complete, and you can get it from Megacat Studios. That's all for Billionaire Banshee. Thanks for watching.